I am the long-lost heiress. Beautiful, but allegedly brainless. The moment I was reunited with my wealthy parents, the fake heiress set me up to marry the Sterling family's notorious black sheep. Marry that country bumpkin? I'd rather die single. Do you think Lucas Sterling, eat trash? Just as the fake heiress smirked, Lucas turned and saw me. In the next second, the man who was just roaring turned beet red. He started stuttering. You're the sister from the country. You're actually gorgeous. Don't look at me like I'm a loser. My dad is loaded.
Dad.
By my wife 2 villas. 10 Porsches. Wifey. What else do you like? Just ask. The fake Harris's face twisted in horror. That night, she made an excuse to send me away and sneaked into Lucas's bed. A minute later, while washing fruit, I heard Lucas's furious roar from the bedroom. Where did this ugly monster come from? Where is my sweet, beautiful wife? When Lucas Sterling heard his arranged marriage partner had been switched to a country girl just back from the Bunas, he smashed a teacup and threatened to call off the engagement. I had just finished packing when I saw the Sterling sitting in the living room. The tension was thick enough to cut with a knife. Lucas, Zoe is my biological daughter. Naturally, she should be the one to marry you, my dad said, gently playing the considerate father. But last night, I heard his adopted daughter, Tiffany, crying her eyes out. Dad, I don't want to marry Lucas Sterling. He's a player, a loser. So they pushed me forward. Real heir is for real heir. They called it only fair. I gripped the hem of my shirt and didn't argue. Compared to my adopted parents in the village, who planned to sell me to an old bachelor for dowry money, the Sterlings wouldn't treat me badly, at least on the surface. But Lucas didn't seem to want me. His back was to me, but his voice was icy. Marry that hillbilly? I'd rather stay single forever. Do you think Lucas Sterling, have no standards? Dad looked awkward. Tiffany stood aside, the corner of her mouth twitching up. I took a deep breath, suppressing my trembling.
Dad.
I'm not worthy of the Sterlings. I've embarrassed you. The air froze. Lucas whipped around, a frown still etched on his face. But the moment his eyes landed on me, his breath hitched. The anger vanished. His ears turned visibly red. He started stammering. You're Zoe, the sister from the country. His Adam's apple bobbed. His voice softened instantly. You're actually really pretty. Silence. I was stunned. Did I hear that right? Tiffany's smile froze. Lucas frantically straightened his collar, like he suddenly couldn't breathe. His dark eyes locked onto me, words tumbling out fast. Don't look at me like I'm a bum. My dad is super rich. Marry me and I guarantee you can live off his money. Forever. Dad and I looked at each other, confused by Lucas's sudden 180. Mr. Sterling smiled, though clearly baffled by his son. Lucas. Zoe grew up in the country, but she is your Uncle Rhodes' flesh and blood. You were betrothed since you were babies. He paused, looking serious. Usually you mess around, but marriage isn't a game.
Don't let Zoe down, Dad.
Lucas interrupted impatiently, the tips of his ears burning. Just pay up. When he looked at me, his eyes went soft. Sunlight hit him through the window, making his amber eyes sparkle.
My dad doesn't really get me. Don't listen to him.
His voice was gentle, almost pleading. By the way, can I call you Zoe? He leaned in suddenly. I held my breath. He was close. Close enough to smell the faint cedarwood cologne. Close enough to see the fine hairs on his skin. Close enough that his sharp jawline and slight smile made my heart skip a beat.
Ha!
A chuckle from above snapped me out of it. I realized I was staring. He was clearly pleased, his grin widening. Seems like Zoe is satisfied with me, too. He leaned in another half step. Why don't we get the marriage license today? That's too fast. I stumbled back, looking at Dad for help. But the two fathers were already shaking hands, beaming. I knew these two were a match made in heaven. Old Sterling, get ready for grandkids. Mr. Sterling laughed, scanning us approvingly. He pulled out a black card and shoved it into my hand. Here, Zoe. A welcome gift from Uncle. This time not only did Tiffany's face change, but even Dad looked surprised. Was there a lot of money on this card? Mr. Sterling was superstitious and insisted on picking an auspicious date for the license. Lucas acted like I was going to run away, refusing to go home. Don't overthink it, he said, hands in his pockets, trying to look cool.
You just got back.
You don't know anyone. As your fiancé, it's my duty to keep you company. I glanced at my parents, who had just seen Mr. Sterling out, and my adopted sister, who never looked me in the eye. Are you close with them? Before Lucas could answer, Tiffany jumped in, voice dripping with honey. Lucas used to come over all the time when we were kids. I tried to take his arm. Lucas dodged behind me, instantly shouting dramatically. Hey lady.
Who are you?
I'm a married man. He buried his face in my shoulder, looking up innocently. Wifey, from now on, I only play with you. Tiffany turned red, then white. She stiffly took Dad's arm, forcing a smile.
Dad.
Zoe and Lucas get along so well. Dad tried to smooth things over. Lucas, Tiffany isn't an outsider. But Lucas wasn't having it. Sorry, I don't talk to women other than my wife. Especially. Nonsense. He grabbed my hand and dragged me upstairs. He really must have visited a lot. He knew exactly where my room was. On the second floor. But when he opened the door, he frowned deeply. My heart jumped. Did I offend the young master? What is the road? Family? This broke. I was confused. He kicked the sofa with disdain. Fake leather. Pointed at the stuffed animals, knockoffs. Finally, he looked at the worn-out bed. Is this bed from a dump? I looked around. It seemed fine to me. Back with my adoptive parents, I slept in a storage room. Actually, I'm easy to please. You don't have to.
What?
He cut me off. Voice sharp. Lucas Sterling's wife being easy to please. He stormed downstairs angrily. Within an hour, Dad painfully led a team of interior designers into the house. They worked fast, transforming my room. Lucas held my hand proudly, eyes shining like a puppy waiting for a treat. How is it? His hand was hot. My brain short-circuited. It's hot. He froze. I blushed and corrected myself. I mean, the room is great. I saw his smirk and turned away shyly, only to see Tiffany walking past the door. She stared at the new furniture, face dark. When she looked at me, I felt hatred. It was 10 p.m. and Lucas still hadn't left Dad. Wanting to fulfill Tiffany's wish, I dragged Mom into their bedroom at 8 p.m. and hadn't come out. Strangely, Tiffany, who usually ignored me, was super attentive tonight. What is Lucas doing? Is Lucas asleep? Does Lucas want a late-night snack? It was all about Lucas. I suspected she regretted letting me take the engagement. The last time I saw her, she was outside my door. She wore a sheer silk nightgown that barely covered her thighs. Full pure lush makeup, peach lips. Hair perfectly curled. I ordered special fruit for Lucas. Go wash it and bring it up. Then she walked into my bedroom. Okay, Lucas was a guest. Maybe she was helping host. I went to the kitchen and washed the fruit. Seriously? Suddenly, a huge crash from upstairs, followed by Lucas's roar. Where did this ugly monster come from? Where is my sweet, beautiful wife? Then the sound of smashing. I dried my hands and ran up. Tiffany was on the floor, nightgown twisted, hair a mess. Lucas stood at the door, face black. Seeing me, his eyes lit up. He rushed over and buried his face in my neck. Wifey, there's a pervert in our room. Tiffany had tears on her lashes, biting her lip. Sister, Lucas is a guest. I just wanted to see if he needed a snack. Lucas exploded, asking about snacks. Dressed like that. Asking about snacks. I am my bed. Then he realized something and shrank back to me, hugging my shirt. Wifey. It was scary. I almost lost my virtue. Luckily, I kicked her off. Tiffany turned crimson. I dug my nails into my palm to stop from laughing. Lucas was kind of cute. I reached out and patted his head like I used to do with the farm dog.
Good boy.
Let's go to sleep. Tiffany scrambled off the floor, clutching her silk robe, her face a mask of humiliation and splintering rage. Lucas, she stammered, tears welling up, fake, practiced tears that usually worked on my parents. Get out. Lucas barked, his voice devoid of the childish whine he used with me. It was a command, deep and vibrating with menace. And take your cheap perfume with you. It smells like a chemical spill. Tiffany fled. I heard her door slam down the hall. Lucas immediately deflated. He turned back to me, his shoulders slumping, looking for all the world like a kicked puppy. He nuzzled his face into the crook of my neck, his breathing erratic. Wifey, I need emotional damage compensation, he mumbled against my skin. She touched my arm. I feel dirty. I sighed, fighting the urge to laugh. Go shower, Lucas. I'll change the sheets. No, he said, gripping my waist tighter. We're leaving. This house has bad feng shui. It's full of demons. That night, Lucas refused to sleep in the guest room. He insisted on sleeping on the floor of my room like a guard dog, wrapping himself in a blanket I found in the closet. Every time I moved, his head would pop up. You okay? You not running away, right? By morning, the dynamic in the Rhodes household had shifted tectonically. When we went downstairs, Dad and Mom were sitting at the dining table, looking exhausted. Tiffany was there, too, wearing a high-necked sweater, eyes red and puffy. She looked the picture of a victim. Zoe, Dad started, his voice stern. Tiffany told us what happened. Lucas was confused in the dark. There was no need for you to humiliate your sister. I paused, toast halfway in my mouth. Humiliate her? She walked into my room in lingerie. I said calmly. I was checking the AC. Tiffany cried out. It's drafty in there. I didn't know Lucas was.
Clang.
Lucas dropped his fork. The sound echoed like a gunshot. He didn't look at Tiffany. He looked at my father. Mr. Rhodes. Are you saying my eyes are broken? Or is your brain broken? Lucas, please. Mom tried to intervene. Lucas stood up, buttoning his suit jacket. The playful, stuttering boy from yesterday was gone. In his place was a man with cold, predatory elegance. I'm taking Zoe to get the marriage license today, Lucas announced. After that, she's moving into the Sterling estate. As for the dowry, he paused, looking at Tiffany with a sneer. Since the real daughter is so concerned with my comfort, she can keep the dowry. She'll need it for therapy. He grabbed my hand. Let's go, wifey. I can't digest food in this toxic waste dump. The ride to the Civil Affairs Bureau was quiet, but the tension was gone. Lucas drove a sleek, matte black Maybach that screamed money, yet he drove it with one hand, the other steadfastly holding mine. You don't have to do this, I said softly, watching the city blur by. You know they just want your family's connection. I'm just a pawn. Lucas glanced at me, his amber eyes softening.
Zoe.
Do you think I'm stupid? People say you are. People say I'm a loser.
A playboy.
A waste of space. He smirked, a dangerous, sharp expression. Let them talk. It makes it easier to crush them later. But you. He squeezed my hand. You didn't look at me with dollar signs in your eyes. You looked at me like I was a person. And you're really hot. That helps. I blushed. Lucas. I'm serious. Listen, I don't care about the Rhodes family. I don't care about the arrangement. I saw you, and my gut said, that's her. My gut is never wrong. It tells me which stocks to buy and which horses to bet on. We walked out of the bureau an hour later, red booklets in hand. Lucas stared at the photo of us, me looking slightly bewildered, him grinning like he'd just won the lottery. Legally bound, he crowed, kissing the booklet. No takebacks. If you run now, I'll sue you for emotional distress and theft of a heart. You're dramatic. I'm passionate.
Come on.
I have to take you to see the old man. And then, we're going home. Home? My home. Not the Sterling main mansion. My place. I expected an apartment. Maybe a bachelor pad with pizza boxes and gaming consoles, fitting his loser reputation. Instead, Lucas drove us into the hills, pulling up to a modern, glass-walled fortress overlooking the city. Security guards bowed as we passed. The interior was minimalist, expensive, and tasteful. Welcome to the Wolf's Den, he said, tossing his keys on a marble console. A man in a sharp gray suit walked out from the hallway. He didn't look like a butler. He looked like a corporate shark. Boss, the man said, nodding to Lucas. The acquisition of T Corp is complete. The board is freaking out. They still think it was a hostile takeover by an overseas firm. Lucas loosened his tie, his posture shifting instantly. The slouch was gone. He stood tall, radiating power. Let them sweat, Adrian. Tell them the new chairman will reveal himself at the end of the month. Oh, and Adrian? Yes, boss. Lucas pulled me forward. This is Zoe, my wife. If she wants the moon, by NASA. If anyone disrespects her, ruin their credit score and burn their house down. Metaphorically. Or literally, depending on the law. Adrian didn't blink. He bowed to me deeply. Mrs. Sterling, welcome. I stood there, stunned. You have a company? You're working? Lucas grinned, losing the tycoon edge and becoming my golden retriever husband again. Wifey, being a loser is hard work. If people knew I was the one behind the Sphinx Group, they'd never leave me alone. I like playing dumb. It lowers expectations. He leaned in, whispering, plus, it's fun seeing their faces when they realize the idiot owns their mortgage. 3 weeks later, the Rhodes family held a gala. Ostensibly, it was to celebrate their business anniversary, but everyone knew it was to show off Tiffany's new engagement. Unable to snag Lucas, Tiffany had pivoted quickly. She was now engaged to Marcus Thorne, a banking heir who was Lucas's cousin and his biggest rival. I didn't want to go. Lucas insisted. They think I'm trash and they think you're a country bumpkin, Lucas said, adjusting my diamond necklace. Tonight, we remind them that trash can be recycled into dynamite. When we entered the ballroom, silence fell. Lucas had dressed me in a midnight blue gown that shimmered like a starry sky. It was custom-made, one of a kind. He wore a tuxedo that fit him like a second skin. Tiffany, standing on the stage with Marcus, looked like a candle next to a supernova. Her eyes narrowed with venom. Zoe, Tiffany called out over the microphone, feigning sweetness. I'm so glad you came. And you brought Lucas. We were worried he wouldn't have the appropriate attire. Laughter rippled through the crowd. Marcus smirked. Lucas, good to see you. I heard you're still unemployed. If you need a job parking cars at my bank, let me know. Lucas smiled. It was a terrifying smile. He didn't take the bait. He walked me to the buffet, ignoring them. Don't eat the shrimp, he whispered. Not fresh. Tiffany, furious at being ignored, descended from the stage. She cornered me near the champagne tower while Lucas was grabbing drinks. You think you won? She hissed. Look at him. He's a joke. Marcus is going to be the head of the Sterling family soon. And you'll be the wife of the outcast. I'm happy, Tiffany, I said simply. That's something you'll never be. You little. She raised her hand to slap me. I caught her wrist. Farm work makes you strong. I squeezed until she gasped. Don't, I warned. Let go of her. Marcus appeared, shoving me. I stumbled back, hitting the champagne tower. Glass shattered. The room went silent. Marcus loomed over me. You uneducated peasant. Apologize to Tiffany. Touch her again. A voice dropped from the ceiling, low and deadly, and I will break every finger on your hand. Lucas stepped through the crowd. The air temperature seemed to drop 10 degrees. He didn't look like the stammering fool anymore. His eyes were burning coals. Lucas, Marcus scoffed. Back off. You're nothing. Lucas laughed. He reached into his pocket and pulled out his phone. He tapped the screen once. Suddenly, the giant projector screen behind the stage, meant to show Tiffany's engagement photos, glitched. A video started playing. It was grainy, black and white security footage. But it was clear. It showed Tiffany sneaking into a bedroom. It showed her trying to climb into a bed. It showed Lucas kicking her off. Then, audio played over the speakers. Tiffany's voice, clear as day, from a recording Lucas must have made. I don't care about Marcus. He's boring. Lucas has the Sterling name. If I sleep with him, he is to marry me. The ballroom erupted. Tiffany screamed, covering her ears. Marcus turned pale, shoving Tiffany away from him as if she were radioactive. Lucas walked up to me, brushing a shard of glass from my hair. He turned to the stunned crowd. My wife, Lucas announced, his voice carrying to every corner, is the only woman with dignity in this room. The next person who disrespects her answers to me. And who are you? Marcus shouted, trying to salvage his pride. Just a reject. Lucas checked his watch. In about 30 seconds, I'm the majority shareholder of your bank, Marcus. I just bought your debt. You're fired. Marcus's phone rang. Then his father's phone rang. Then half the room's phones rang. The news broke instantly. Sphinx Group acquires Thorn Banking. CEO revealed as Lucas Sterling. The aftermath was a massacre, socially and financially. The Rhodes family was ostracized. Mr. Rhodes tried to beg Lucas for forgiveness, invoking family ties. Lucas sent him a bill for my upbringing, adjusted for inflation and emotional neglect. Tiffany was dumped by Marcus publicly. She tried to spin the narrative online, painting me as a witch, but Lucas's PR team crushed her before she could hit post. She ended up leaving the country, rumored to be living in a small flat in Europe, living off a meager allowance. As for me, I wasn't just the wife. Lucas made me sit in on board meetings. When he found out I had a knack for numbers, keeping track of farm expenses isn't easy, he hired tutors to catch me up on finance. Within a year, I was managing the Sterling Charity Foundation, turning it into a global powerhouse. But the best moments weren't the boardrooms or the galas. It was late at night, in the wolf's den. I was sitting on the sofa, reading a book. Lucas had his head in my lap, fast asleep, drooling slightly on my silk pajamas. He muttered something in his sleep. I leaned down to listen. Wifey, 2 villas, 10 Porsches, don't leave. I smiled, brushing the hair from his forehead. I'm not going anywhere, you idiot, I whispered. He cracked one eye open, amber gold shining in the dim light. Promise? Promise. Good. He closed his eyes again, pulling my hand to his chest. Because if you run, I'll just have to buy the country you run to. Lucas. Shut up and sleep. Yes, wifey. The world saw a tyrant, a genius, a ruthless businessman. But I knew the truth. He was just a boy who finally found someone who wouldn't leave, and I was the girl who finally found a home that wasn't a cage. We were the perfect disaster. And it was beautiful.